Season 14 is starting tomorrow, and before you get onto the climb with Kayle, onto the grind, I want to make a quick video with things you should probably know, or what you should know about Kayle for Season 14. I haven't released a guide. I will work on one once I figured out all the best things. So if you want to see me play tomorrow, I'll be live on Twitch. Link is in the description. Tomorrow, all day, playing placements and grinding as much as I can. Testing out different item builds. But this video is more focused on some things you should know, some tips and tricks already, and some things and items to avoid for Kayle. I'll just start with items, because I feel like items is the most important thing. And yeah, there will be timestamps in the on the bottom, so you can just like skip through for the things you want to know, or you know, maybe there aren't some things you are interested in, you can just skip. And yeah, let's start with items. So some items you should definitely have a closer look on are obviously the new ones. There are also some items, some old items that got changed. A very interesting item I want to talk about, first of all, is Terminus. I've tested this in one of my recent videos for Season 14, where we tried the item on PvE. And while the item looks pretty good, you know, especially the passive, you know, 40, 80, 30% attack speed is quite decent. The passive, or all the multiple passives, are the kind of interesting things, right? You not only get some magic on it damage, but you also get this juxtaposition, whatever the fuck that means. Where basically one auto gives you some MR and some armor, and one attack gives you armor and magic pen that like kind of just swaps around until you get 30% armor magic pen, and I believe up to, it says 0, but I think it was up to 25 or 30 armor and MR as well. And the first important thing you need to understand is that this item is very bad as a rush item. So this is definitely an item you should not consider buying first in any circumstances. I think it's a very, very bad item. You'll probably see on the screen right now some different first item damage comparisons, and Terminus is by far one of the worst first items for Kayle you can buy. It's kind of like a scaling item, so I would definitely recommend you building this as a either third or fourth option in you know, on it build, or maybe even crit build, but we'll get later onto that point a bit more in depth. Another very interesting item for AP Kayle is going to be Shadowflame. Shadowflame got changed quite a bit. It doesn't give you any HP anymore, and instead of getting the magic pen under 1k HP, and or if someone got shielded before, you now basically crit with everything. Your item passives can crit, you know, such as the new item from Stormsurge, the passive. Your autos crit, your waves crit, your Q, E, ulti, everything crits below, I don't know what it was, I think like 30-35%. And I think 120 raw AP and 12 flat magic pen is very good against squishy champs or champions who don't build MR. I'm not really sure how good it will be for top lane Kayle, because mostly top laners this season, at least that's, you know, just a guess. We're going to see exactly how it will be in the next few days of the season. Most top laners will just be either bruisers or tanks. You know, there are lots of new tank items, especially tank MR items. So I feel like AP top laners, at least for blind pick, will be really bad, because it's just so easy to counter them. And I think what it means for Kayle as well, but we'll go more in depth over this as well in just a second. AP Kayle will be very bad for top lane in most matchups. But let's finish items, and then we'll go over the other changes that you should know about. So I think not only Shadowflame, but also Stormsurge is a very interesting item. It has pretty similar stats. You get 20 less AP, but you get 5% movement speed on top of that. Cost is 300 gold lower. The interesting part is the passive though, because if you deal 35% of a champion's maximum health within, I think it was like 1.5 seconds, then you apply Squall, the other passive, and you get a bit of movement speed. And what the passive basically does is it's like a Volibear E, right? You've seen it. It's basically like a strike that like charges and then just deals some extra damage. So this is very good on champs that burst a lot, you know, like it's like LeBlanc and stuff. But for Kayle, especially for AP Kayle, it's going to be a very interesting item as well, because we all know how much damage AP Kayle can deal late game. And this season, especially if you play AP Kayle or if you consider playing AP Kayle, you're going to be quite squishy, right? They removed lots of HP items, so you're going to have less HP. I would say you have more damage, but you're like kind of a glass cannon. I think AP Kayle is very glass cannon this season. You know, Deathcap, I think they increased the AP by like 20, I'm not sure. Still going to be a very solid option, you know, Kayle loves raw AP, so this is also going to be an interesting item. But the next big interesting item we have is Riftmaker. Unfortunately, Riftmaker got completely destroyed this season, so my guess is that Riftmaker will be not really a viable option anymore. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still going to be a decent viable option. I don't think it's going to be a important item for Kayle or like a must build anymore though. The problem is they removed the Omnivamp from its stats, and now you only get Omnivamp after fighting for I think like 3 seconds. I'm not sure exactly how much it was, but I think it was after 3 seconds, right? For each second combat with enemy champions, deal bonus damage and maximum strength and Omnivamp. I think it was 3 seconds. So if I understand this correctly, hey, write down in the comments if you know that for sure. If I understand this correctly, I think you only get Omnivamp while fighting someone else, so you can't heal off waves anymore, and therefore I feel like this item is just dead, because for AP Kayle that was the only item that would give you sustain, and now it's just for fighting. So I think this item will be good on like other champions, but I feel like this is one of the worst items for AP champs by far. And I saw some people say that Riot August talked about this in his stream, and he said that he kind of keeps a closer eye on champs like Kayle, Gwen, and someone else, I don't remember. And he will see, you know, if it's actually too bad, and if so, they might change something for Kayle. I heard there might be some e-buffs, but hey, we'll see. We'll figure out. We'll get this figured out in the next couple of days. You know, maybe it's going to be completely broken all of a sudden, which I personally don't think. But yeah, we'll see. So yeah, Riftmaker, kind of a dead item. Don't really build this at all. I don't think there's a reason. So you're probably just going to build lots of damage items with lots of damage. Another interesting item is Malignance. I've thought about this again, and honestly, I don't think it's going to be that good on Kayle. The item itself sounds good. I think it's not as good as you think it will be on Kayle, just because there are just other options for Kayle that are just much better. What makes the item so interesting is the Scorn passive, which gives you, I believe, 30 ability haste on your ultimate. Damaging a champion with your ultimate burns the ground beneath them is kind of like, yeah, it's not bad. It gives extra damage. It's not really suited for Kayle. I think it's very good for champs like Fiddlesticks. I think Fiddlesticks is going to be one of the best junglers this season, at least right now, because it's so insanely broken on him. For Kayle, this is an item you could try. I don't really see how well it will be, so yeah, give it a try if you want to. I don't think it's going to be like one of the items you need to buy. Same goes, honestly, for Cryptbloom. This item is very interesting, and we'll see, because I feel like I haven't seen anyone like talk about this item, or like no one really has seen a champion that will actually build the item. I feel like this is going to be a very niche item. You get 30% magic pen, which basically disables you to buy void stuff. So if you buy this, you can't buy void stuff anymore. The passive is quite nice. You heal after getting a takedown in like a Nova. It's the same in like, maybe some of you guys played Risk of Rain 2. And this reminds me of an item you can buy there as well, or like get. And the scaling from the item is quite interesting. The healing scaling, I think it's 50% AP. So late game, that could be quite nice. I think for Kayle, it's kind of like a, you know, like item that can and will work. I don't think it's going to be like a must build as well. But like for actual builds, we'll get there in a second. Ludens Companion is the new Ludens Tempest, you know, basically just changed names. It looks a bit more like a Gunblade. You know, lots of people, including me, got kind of baited when they first showed the icon, because I was like, damn, they're reworking Gunblade, like new icon, and we get the item back. Unfortunately, that's not quite the case. It's basically the same. The passive works a bit different. I think it's an option that works. Again, Kayle doesn't really utilize mana, so I think any item that gives you mana isn't really 100% good. Sure, it works, you know, it will be just the same as these two items. It's just not that good for Kayle, because again, Kayle doesn't really need the mana. Like, the AP is nice, ability haste is nice. You don't really need the extra wave clear you get from the, or like the extra damage from this. Sure, it works. But I think what's a more interesting item is Zhonyas. Zhonyas got changed quite a bit. It's more expensive now. I think 300, 350 gold. But you get 120 AP now instead of 80, I believe. And 50 armor, plus you still get the passive, the active. And what's also quite interesting is that, oops, that you now have, instead of stopwatch, right, stopwatch is removed. Now Seeker's Arm Guard basically has the Zhonyas passive, which is like 1200 gold, I believe. So it's very interesting. I think Zhonyas is going to be one of these items that might be pretty good on Kayle, simply because you now get like lots of AP as well, 50 armor. So into like any, especially if you play mid lane, or even into some top lane matchups, I could see this item be very nice as like a second option. Or third option. You know, usually if you had like two items, you had to decide between like Zhonyas and Deathcap. Zhonyas would always, or in like 90% of the games, always be the worst option, simply because, sure, you get the active, but Deathcap is just so much stronger in terms of damage. You wouldn't have like any damage with Zhonyas. So I feel like now this isn't really a trade-off anymore. You can actually get good damage. 120 AP is a lot. 50 armor is nice. And having Zhonyas is can be quite powerful against champs with all in, you know. I could see this work very well. Not only for mid lane assassins, right? Like, I think this is going to be a must build item into any mid lane champ that builds AD. Which I also want to talk about in just a second. But for top lane, I could see this work, you know, against certain champs like Riven, you know, with all in, you know, basically all in champions. This could be very strong. It's quite expensive though. 3,250 gold is quite expensive. However, I think this is definitely going to be a very solid option. Maybe not core, but I think it's going to be way more built than last season. This is for the AP items. For builds, I think that's going to be, you know, probably something that should work quite well. For AP Kayle, I think Nash's Tooth into either Deathcap or Shadowflame will be the go-to. I think Shadowflame probably works a bit better just because it's a bit cheaper, plus it's way easier to build, right? Deathcap's big downside is that you have to build two Need to See large rods, which both cost 1,250 gold. Which sucks, you know, because you don't always get to recall on 1,250 gold. So I think Shadowflame will definitely be probably the best second option for AP Kayle. And then I would say either Deathcap or Stormsurge or even Zhonyas, depending on, you know, what you need. I think in general, if you play against dive comp or, you know, like AD champs and you feel like Zhonyas, because they can dive you or have good engage on you, is like very important, then probably just Zhonyas third. If they, you know, if you have, I would say if you have like 2,500 gold and you get a recall off, I would just go for Deathcap third, because you can just buy both Need to See large rods. If you play against like pure squishy champs, and you know, like ADCs, mid laners or whatever. I think Stormsurge third will be very good option just because of the insane amount of damage, plus also the synergy between Shadowflame's crit passive and Stormsurge's extra damage passive, right? That also crits. And yeah, and then you can just build whatever, you know. You can just go for Zhonyas, you can go for Lichbane, Void stuff as like a last option, whatever you need. For Boots choice, I think classic Berserker Greaves will still work very fine. If you like it a bit spicier, you play against squishy champs. There's more of like a, I think for mid lane, then Sorcerers are very good. Yeah. For on-it build, I think on-it will be also interesting. I think AP Kayle will probably be best, at least for mid lane. For top lane, we have like kind of like an on-it build, and again, do not make the mistake of buying Terminus first. I think first best option, you know, DPS wise, still Kraken Slayer, very solid option. Having the item first feels very strong. There's no other item that deals that much damage first. So I think Kraken Slayer first will still be the go-to for top lane, 100%. Except for, of course, playing into a tank. Then Blade of the Rune King will be an option. They changed the item, unfortunately. You now, I don't have the item here. You now, instead of having this triple attack passive and then getting the true damage, the percentage HP damage, you now just slow them on your first auto attack, which is kind of meh, I guess. But yeah, that's how it is. So definitely Kraken Slayer first. And then I think Nashor's Tooth second will still be the best option, even if you go for on it or even crit. Simply because, you know, usually if you go for that build, we all know the Jar Jar Mang build, which is Kraken Slayer into Wit's End into Cerulda's Grudge. They got it, Wit's End. Unfortunately, you don't get any more AD. You now get a bit more attack speed. You get 50 MR, and you get 20% tenacity. You don't get any more AD, which kind of sucks, because like AD was quite nice for the item. It's gone, so I don't really know how well the item will be or how good the item will feel on Kayle. Give it a try. I don't think, though, it will be this strong anymore, you know, simply because you just have 40 less AD. I think on it is the same as before, still scaling. Yeah. For third option, I think you're going to build either Terminus or Rageblade. And then fourth option, just the other item. You know, both are really strong. You get 30 on it on both. And it synergizes really well, you know. 30% armor and magic pen for free on the item is also quite nice. So I feel like into tanks, you know, on it will be the go-to. You can't go AP Kayle into top lane into tanks anymore. That just doesn't work. Because there are so many items that tanks got now, like new items, that give them lots of MR. You know, there's the MR Sunfire option. There's the MR item that gives you a shield. There's so many options for MR that I think top lane Kayle just going pure AP is just, it's that. So definitely give Kraken Slayer into Nashor's Tooth or Bork a try with just, you know, Terminus and Rageblade afterwards. For Boots choice, I think this is the only item build where you don't have to go for Berserker Greaves, simply because you just legit only build attack speed items, and you're gonna cap on 2.5 attack speed very quickly. So I think you can just opt for any other boots. I think Swifties or Pen Boots very nice. You know, Kayle still deals lots of magic damage. This deals magic damage. This does too. I think the on it is magic damage, so I think Pen Boots are like a no-brainer. Boots of Swiftness, still very nice item. Yeah. I think Tavi's, you know, if you play against a more heavier AD comp, will also be nice. Yeah. For Crit Kayle, honestly, I'm not really sure how good Crit Kayle will be. Gonna have to try. I think Kraken Slayer first, still the most valid option. I would always go like Kraken Slayer Wit's End into IE. Again, they removed the AD from Wit's End, so I think we might have a better option with Phantom Dancer now. For 2,800 gold, it's quite cheap. We get 55% attack speed in total with the stacked passive. 10% move speed is really nice. 2080 is like whatever, I guess. So I think for Crit Kayle, Kraken Slayer into either Phantom Dancer second or IE second will be the go-to, and then just buy the other one. That's also always a solid option on Kayle, on Crit Kayle. However, I'm not really sure about Sarita's Grudge. They removed the armor penetration. It says Rancor gain armor penetration. I'm not sure. I haven't tested it. If it gives passive armor penetration, like it says, like you still get like 30%. Let me know in the comment section down below, because I actually have no clue. Because I remember it would give 4580, 20 ability haste, 4580, yeah, 20 ability haste, and 30% armor penetration, which was one of my favorite items for Kayle. Now you get 15 flat lethality, 5% less ability haste, same 80. And instead of your waves slowing on every auto, you now have to actually deal 50% damage before you slow them again, right? Damaging abilities slow enemies under 50% health, which kind of sucks. It's not as good as it was before. I guess you just have to deal more damage before. So I'm not really sure how good the item will be. I still think it's going to be a very solid option. I could probably see LDR be better again, simply because this card got it a bit, and this is less gold. Sure, you don't have to slow, but I think especially top lane will consist of more bruisers and tanks, so I feel like LDR could definitely be the better option than Sarita's Grudge this season. Yeah, that's basically it for items. I want to quickly talk about, because I mentioned it earlier, about Zhonyas and mid lane. I think Zhonyas is going to be a very good and interesting option for mid lane Kayle as like a second item, because not only mages got giga buffs this season, also lethality got buffed, right? Lethality used to work like this. It would be scaling. So if you would buy a lethality item, let's say, like now Sarita's Grudge, you wouldn't get the 15 lethality straight up. It would be scaling, right? It would start at like, I think 11 at level 1, and then 18 lethality, or like 20 whatever at level 18. And now you get it flat, straight up. If you buy the item, you get the full amount of lethality. Which means that assassins will be a lot stronger. I think we're going to see lots of assassins this season, or at least for now, in the beginning of the season. Lots of mages, lots of assassins. More assassins than before, for sure. Especially because there's the new Profane Hydra, I think it's called. Which is Hydra with lethality. So champs like Talon, Zed, Kiana, Nafiri, and so on will be much seen, I think. Very much seen. And therefore, I think Zhonyas will be a very solid option as a second item. I think Nashos into Zhonyas will be the go-to into these kind of champions. I'm not really sure how good Kayle in mid lane will be this season. I think mid lane will be a lot safer. Top lane as well, by the way. If you get red side top lane, so last pick, it's probably going to be a free win, or like a free lane at least, right? Because top lane got changed. It's not really gankable for junglers anymore, especially on red side, on the upper side. For mid lane, there is the thing is gone, the wall next to you, so it's more open, which makes you more vulnerable to ganks. I think you can also play a bit safer now, because you get to have more vision, which means you can see enemies way easier. I think for mid lane Kayle, we might take a big L this season. Sure, Kayle is decent into assassins, right? Because you have your ulti. I could definitely see more Barrier Kayle and Exhaust Kayle be played this season again into assassins. The biggest downside I see, or the biggest problem I see for mid lane Kayle, is the amount of buffs that mages got. And we all know how much Kayle struggles against mages with 22 MR, which is the lowest base MR in the whole game. And since all mages are getting giga buffed with all the new items, You know, Stormsurge, Cryptbloom, Malignance, Shadowflame. I think Kayle will struggle even more than she did before against AP matchups, especially control mages in mid lane. So my guess will be that top lane Kayle will be a way more solid option. But hey, that's my prediction. Maybe I'm completely wrong. I think that's how it's going to be, probably, at least for now. Overall, I think it's going to be a better season than Season 13. At least that's what I'm hoping for. Because Season 13 has been, at least the last few months, quite boring. And yeah, I haven't really played much ranked at all. I've played on like a secret account, a bit off stream. I didn't really grind much. I will probably, I still have a few hours left. I will probably end, yeah, you know, in like mid-master. I think I did pretty good. I kind of just started playing again, like 2 days ago. I haven't really played much. I feel like I could have pushed for Grandmaster at least. But honestly, I don't know. I didn't really feel motivated to play, and I haven't really streamed much. But yeah, I'm really hyped for lots of cool new things for Season 14. You know, the Herald change is very interesting. The other little void links that spawned before, very interesting. And I feel like top lane will just feel way better to play. Top lane is going to be a way more isolated lane. Because again, it's just way harder to gank top lane. It's way harder to gank mid lane. And it's actually easier to gank bot lane, you know, because it's more open now. So I feel like lots of junglers, or most junglers, 95% of the junglers will start topside, path into bot lane. So top lane will be a very, very isolated lane. It's going to be kind of like the king of the alcove, like back in the days. Top lane 1 versus 1. And therefore, I think, and that's going to be a hot guess, I think Ignite Kayle will rise way more. You might have seen it before. I just showed it. I play only Ignite right now on this account. You see me very rarely play with anything else than Ignite. I'm already practicing. I think if you know how to do it correctly, I think Ignite is very strong for 1v1. Like, I just built into like anyone, right? I had one Ghost game into this comp. Any other game, except for like range champions, of course, right? I'm going Ignite, because I feel like Ignite, you know, Kayle is quite strong, level 1. Ignite gives you lots of pressure. Kayle is going to be very weak until level 6 afterwards. And Ignite kind of helps you crash the first 3 waves. And then just have a chill lane. So, definitely give Ignite Kayle a try. I think it's definitely going to be a very solid option for this season. And, yeah, I think that's going to be the video. If you guys, you know, want to watch me play and try out some builds, like all these builds, then make sure to tune in tomorrow. For the people who might ask why I haven't talked about other items, you know, there's, for example, the experimental hexblade. I'm not really sure what to think about this. Like, in theory, it looks good. Damage-wise, it didn't feel that good. So I'm just going to try and see, you know, maybe it's going to be like kind of a, like a, I don't know how to call it, like a L9 secret build. You could try like an off-meta build. I don't think it's going to be like a meta build. Maybe, you know, maybe we're going to see some Koreans come up with a secret Bruiser Kayle build where you go experimental hexblade with like Rasp and stuff. That could be a solid option, you know, who knows. It's definitely something we could try, but I don't want to recommend you guys items that I'm not really sure about. But that might be also, you know, maybe for top lane, a very interesting option. But yeah, make sure to check out the stream tomorrow on Twitch TV/Kayle_1v9. I'll be streaming all day, trying out things. If you have any questions, then make sure to tune in tomorrow. Write down in the comment section down below what you think about Kayle this season. You know, maybe it's going to be better, maybe not. Also, maybe some of you guys have seen the community post from 2 days ago, or like 3 days. We're going to get a prestige skin. Most likely in June, which I'm really hyped about. Hopefully it's going to be like a banger skin, like a prestige skin. Very nice. I would have loved to see like a legendary skin as well. or a prestige, pretty fucking juicy. So make sure you save your purple essence, your what are they called? You know what I mean, like the special ones. I heard it's probably going to be a token skin, prestige skin, which means you will have to buy the pass, which is like $10, and then just grind for like 2,000 points. But yeah, we'll see. It's still half a year, you know, lots of cool changes. I've seen like the mastery changes, higher mastery up to like mastery 10, I think. Very interesting. Very hyped. Glad to be back. There will be more content, more videos. Again, sorry again for like the bit of less content in the last couple of weeks. But yeah, I'm very hyped, guys. New season, always banger. Make sure to tune in tomorrow. Until that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe. We're getting closer and closer to 50,000 subs. And after that, guys, I wish you a wonderful day. And I'll see you hopefully in the next video or tomorrow on stream. Peace out.